Welcome back to the Transform podcast, where you get information on how to improve your life, your health, your wealth, and relationships. I'm super excited about the podcast today because I have here my friend Daniel from Top Tier Headshots to have a conversation with me about who he is and what he does for business. Extremely excited. Daniel, thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for having me in this amazing studio that you have.
Absolutely. It's excited to be here, Alex.
Let's start by telling me a little bit about who you are. The audience doesn't know you.
Absolutely. So my name is Daniel. I'm the owner of Top Tier Headshots. I'm a headshot photographer and expression coach. So we take the headshots beyond just, school picture day. And I actually take some time to teach people about facial expressions, what they convey, how to look confident in front of the camera and things like that, so they make a great first impression. Married, I've got 4 little kids that we're raising up, and we've been down here in South Florida for the last 8 years.
Okay. Where did you live before?
So originally I'm from Canada. My wife's from Michigan, so way up north in the cold, but we've been down here for a while, and we love living down here in South Florida.
That's amazing. I'm gonna share a little bit of the story of how we met, because I think it's interesting. I get sponsored to be part of the annual report for the company that I work for, and all of a sudden they asked me for a headshot. And I'm like, yeah, I have headshots, but they're like 10 years old, and I don't look like this guy anymore at all. I had followed you on LinkedIn for a little bit and seen your work. It looked amazing. So overnight, literally, I started messaging you on LinkedIn, and you replied back to me almost instantly. You made it happen. My timeline was 72 hours. So you had me come out here, do an express session with you. Obviously, you had to move some stuff around, which I definitely appreciate. Got the photos back to me before the deadline, and they looked fabulous, right? I could definitely attest to the work that you do, so I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about bringing out the expression. How does that happen? How do you do that?
So a lot of people come to me and kind of I already mentioned this, but their past experiences that headshots are basically like school picture day all over again. You know, sit over here, put some lights on you, say cheese, click, and then we're on to the next person. And a lot of times what happens is that you end up with a fake smile, which is not, in this day and age where we do so much business online, where our first impression of people is often an online impression through their headshot or what they've got online, that why would you want to have a fake smile as a first impression?
Very true.
Because people probably would have a difficult time picking out, it's a fake smile because of this, this, and this, but we all intuitively know
for sure
when it's a fake smile.
For sure.
Versus when you see somebody that looks genuine, they look approachable, they look confident, we gravitate towards people like that, and we feel like this is somebody I want to connect with. Science actually tells us that within like the first 3 seconds of seeing somebody for the first time, we're already subconsciously forming an opinion about whether or not they're trustworthy.
Wow.
So if you look like you've got a fake smile, that's not going to help towards that first impression, versus if you look confident, approachable, and genuine, that just kind of takes it to the next level. So I spent some time teaching people about little facial cues that help people look confident. And then, as you can attest, I don't like to tell people to smile, so I just say random things to try to get great reactions out of people.
Wiggle your ears. I would not forget it.
And that just kind of, it helps people, number one, forget they're in front of a camera.
Yes.
And it helps to create a smile that looks like you're not smiling at a camera, you're smiling at a person.
Yes.
Which just takes it to the next level. If you can have a shot where somebody goes to your LinkedIn page and it feels like you're smiling at them, not like you're smiling at a camera, that just takes that first impression to the next level.
Yes, it does. And I could attest that that's been the scenario. I've had people just complimenting the photos, just reaching out, hey, I noticed scrolling up, scrolling down, I noticed your profile and something caught my attention, and the photos, one of the most important things that will catch the attention. So awesome, you sound very passionate.
I am.
How did this passion develop? How did you get into photography?
Yeah, so I got into photography doing wildlife and nature photography. So I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but what's on the wall here is an example of my work. When we moved down to Florida,
that's amazing.
8 years ago, I had a camera, didn't really know how to use it. There was wildlife down here that I always wanted to see in the wild. So I went out, started going out to the Everglades with my camera, started trying to photograph things, was really unhappy with the quality of what I was getting. Why does this look so bad? So I was just following National Geographic photographers and other people on Instagram that were doing amazing work, and was just trying to figure out how can I get from where I am to where they are. And just began this process of learning and growing and honing my skill. I ended up having some of my work published in some books and magazines.
Wow.
And placing pretty highly in some international wildlife photography competitions as well. And started thinking in the back of my head, I'd love to get into photography as a career, but I wasn't really sure how to break into it. I knew that I didn't want to be a wedding photographer. It was just too much stress for me. And then you never have any weekends available.
Yeah, for sure.
So I just kind of kept it on the back burner and was thinking about it. Was occasionally doing people portraits on the side, just kind of as a way to little side hustle, basically. And began to be really fascinated by genuine human expression and how to capture that. Because, again, same thing with family photos or high school seniors. Nobody wants to have a fake smile in their photos. And the example I always tell people is photographing my mom, who has the most beautiful smile in the world, but she cannot smile on command. If you tell her to smile, it's like so fake,
like
and
the weird look,
just kind of just very cheesy, very fake, and it's like, Mom, that's not what you look like. So just began this thing, how can I get my mom to give me that natural smile that everybody knows and loves, and just experimenting with trying different things and getting those great reactions out of her so that we can actually see the smile in the photos. And then transitioning to, I got connected to a guy in Washington, D.C., who's a full-time headshot photographer. And he put out a little book called Making Bank with Photography, basically just about how he took his little side hustle to a full-time profitable career doing headshots in DC. And it's a fairly short read, and I read through it, and I said to my wife, I think we could do this. Like, I think that it's going to take some work, and there's going to be obstacles to overcome, but I see the potential here. So I ended up getting on a Zoom call with that guy, picking his brain about starting a business. He essentially has become one of my mentors for my business. And he got me connected with this guy called Peter Hurley. He's in New York City. He's widely considered to be the best headshot photographer in the world. And I was able to get into the group that he runs called Headshot Crew, where he teaches people how to do world-class headshots. So at the same time, I was started my business January 2021. I'm trying to grow this business and trying to learn headshots from this guy at the same time. I already thankfully had this, background of photography, knew how to use a camera and things like that. But this guy was really zeroing in on this hyper-specific niche of photography, which is headshots,
full focus.
And kind of, I guess arrogantly at the beginning, I thought to myself, well, how hard could headshots be, right? Stand somebody against the background, you take their picture, whatever, right?
Yeah, right.
And I learned very quickly how wrong I was and how much there was to learn. And so it was very humbling, but it was a good thing, and really pushed me to learn and grow. And one of the things I thought was, Peter Hurley, if he signs off on 15 images of yours, then he'll make you one of his associates.
Wow.
So I thought, well, that's a good goal to work for. If I'm going to be in this group, I might as well work towards something and have a goal. So I made that my goal. Well, it was tough, man, just to get one photo approved by this guy. Not because he's mean or critical, but he's just very particular. And he wants to make sure that anybody that he puts his stamp of approval on can consistently produce quality that, he'll sign off on. So it's very constructive criticism, but it was just a lot, It's all the different things to learn: lighting, expression, helping people's clothes to look just right, hair and things, makeup, everything that you could think of that would go into that. He's judging people based on that. So first 6 months in, I was like, I don't know if this is ever going to happen. It's so tough. But then it's 7 or 8 months in, I won his Headshot of the Week contest, which is everybody in the group submitting their images and basically picking one winner.
Look at that.
And about a month later, I won a second Headshot of the Week, which is that top image up there on the wall, which you can't see on camera.
Wow.
But at that point, he said, I think you're pretty close to getting associated. And that just lit
a
more
fire.
of a fire under me, and to get things going. And by the end of the year, December of 2021, he did a final portfolio review and made me an associate, which was just a huge feeling of accomplishment. He's had about 17,000 photographers join his group over the last 10 years.
Wow.
He's made, well, at the time where I made it to associate, which was about 10 years into his group, he'd only made about 150 people associates at that time. So it was pretty awesome feeling to get that.
It definitely like that.
Yeah.
Definitely
So that kind of was that initial goal of like building my business, but also like working under this guy to learn and to his style, which is phenomenal. I mean, you've experienced work, so,
for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot to extract on there because a lot happened. Let's break it down a little bit so that it's easier to understand.
Yeah.
To me, the way I see it, you might be a relationship first expert and then wealth because of the side of business and all that stuff. So let's dive deep on relationships. How did you get connected to the person that knew the person that got you into all of this? How did that happen?
Yeah, so the guy in DC, the headshot photographer that I initially got connected with, who wrote the book, our dads actually know each other, which is great connection there, right? So he had no problem, hopping on a Zoom call to talk initially. But yeah, my business has just been like the power of connections.
For sure.
Really, and so because that guy in DC got me connected with Peter Hurley in New York City, and getting trained under him was instrumental to my business. But then on the business side of things, when I started, my background is as a high school teacher. So I had like zero connections in the business world. So starting the business, I quickly realized that I couldn't just make a website and wait for people to flock in. I needed to go and meet people. I needed to make connections. And so that kind of began this journey of both in person and then also carrying that over to LinkedIn, of just constantly making connections with people and trying to not just like, I just want to make money, so everybody come to me, but like, how can I add value to the people that I'm connecting with has been a huge benefit to me as well.
I use LinkedIn a lot as well. We met through LinkedIn, so I definitely understand the power of connections, and I praise you for doing that because I know how hard it is to build a tribe, one person that I actually know through networking as well, Grant Miller, he says that, you build your community and people would always show up. So keep on building your community and you're gonna get folks to, come through the door every single day. People that I would send to you.
I appreciate it, man.
Talk to me about the business side. You gave me a couple nuggets, obviously relationships is a part of it, but how do you go from creating that website to getting customers, to running a place, to renting a place, to getting equipment, to figuring out all of these issues that come with owning a business?
How much time do you have?
Make it as digestible as possible.
So like I said, really early on, like first or second month of starting the business, quickly realized that I can't just wait for people to come. I need to be more proactive, meeting people in the community, getting my name out there and things like that. So I pretty quickly joined the Fort Lauderdale Chamber of Commerce.
Good.
And I joined a referral group within the chamber. And to be honest, I really didn't know what networking was. I was just like, I just, go to this group and hand out business cards and that's all it is. But I didn't fully understand that it involves building relationships with people over time.
Yes, it does.
Contributing to that network and not just trying to get and to give as well.
Yeah, you said it. Give value back.
Yeah, exactly. So the first 6 months of my business was just a total grind. It was just hustling, going to multiple networking meetings every week, meeting people, connecting with them on LinkedIn so I could grow my network on LinkedIn over time. That hustle, Within the first 6 months, I connected with somebody on LinkedIn, had 30,000 followers.
Wow.
And then she ended up booking a session. She loved it. She posted about it on LinkedIn. And within the next week, I had like 5 new clients, just like that.
Look at that.
And so it was just like first 6 months of just like crawling, up the hill, trying to just gain traction and get my name out there. And then it just went from doing like this to just overnight. But, still, obviously, growth happening and overcoming different obstacles, with a business that's growing. The first about a year and a half of my business, all of the individual sessions I did were in my house. Wow. I would set up a studio in my living room. People would come. Of course, we made it very nice for people and, had beverages and snacks for them and music playing and just made it a really nice experience. And actually had a lot of compliments by, we had like the CFO of a major global corporation come to our house to get his headshots done. So it wasn't a hurdle to people, but it was just, for the time we were starting, it made sense financially. And so we just did that for a while. And then when I would do, a corporate group session, I would just take the equipment, to their office to do that. But about a year or so in, we started thinking it's growing fast enough and it's kind of just starting to interrupt family life a little bit with all of the clients that we had coming. So let's start looking. I think the revenue is at a place where we can start looking for an actual space to rent. And kind of one of the thoughts we had was, if we're going to take on the overhead of getting a space, let's make sure that the revenue grows because of that, and that we can do other things in the studio to generate more revenue. And so it took us about 6 months of looking to find a great space, but we found this space. We love it. We had to do some renovations in it. We had to invest in some new gear to do some of the more like lifestyle and branding images that we're doing in the studio now. But it's kind of that challenge of needing to invest in new things to grow the business, but wanting to make sure it stays profitable and things like that.
That makes sense.
But it's been going really well. We're so thankful for how it's been going, and to be honest, it's grown way faster than we ever thought it would.
It's the power of people, man, and the power of doing a good job. There's no better testament than doing that. And your job is incredible, so people are always going to show up. Let me take you further back.
Yeah.
You did wildlife photography.
Yeah.
Where did that passion start?
Man, that's going back to like 2, 3, 4 years old.
So you always I've
always loved wildlife, and that's kind of one of the things that led into teaching high school science, was just that interest in wildlife and nature. So I got a degree in biology in college, and then a degree in education, and that was when we were living back up in Canada. So I was teaching high school up there. And just like I've always loved wildlife. Particularly, I've always loved reptiles. So moving down to like here's South Florida, there's alligators, there's other stuff. And it just was very fascinating to me.
And if you always liked wildlife, why photography? Why not maybe a scientist? Why maybe not, a doctor that deals with animals? Why specifically photography?
That's a good question. I mean, I've always loved documenting things. And even when I was like younger, growing up, if I had opportunity to get out into the woods, into nature, I was like, whenever I could, I had like a little disposable camera from Walmart and just like, take pictures of everything that I saw, and then just couldn't wait to get the, film developed and get those pictures. I could, reminisce about those experiences. And so, moving down here, the opportunity to see this amazing wildlife that we have in South Florida, I was like, I want to photograph it. It was just a continuation of that desire to document and then relive those memories through the photographs.
Capturing the moment.
And then, of course, the better the photography is, the more lifelike the, reminiscing and everything.
Very, very true.
So that just kind of led to this, well, how do I get these better images that better capture what the experience was like? And then also helps to show people. I've always been kind of a teacher at heart, and as you know, reptiles are very misunderstood, and a lot of people don't like them. And I've always had this feeling of like, I want to teach people about them because I find them to be utterly fascinating.
Yeah.
And so, when you have a great photograph that, really shows the beauty of something and how cool it is, then that better enables you to teach people about that.
Of course.
And that was kind of my mindset when learning.
Believe it or not, I'm one of those people. To me, reptiles are either dragons or like dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So I'm one of those people you have to teach. So.
There you go.
Very cool, man. Very cool. From your story, I hear a lot of consistency, right? You always liked something. You wanted to go knee deep into following your passions. when you know, got introduced to this other person, like you stayed super consistent to make sure that you outperform that large group of other people following the program for this gentleman in New York. Then you stayed, like, you know, went through the grind in your business, although not every day was a good day, but you stayed consistent, and obviously now you're reaping the fruits of that success. So tell me a little bit about, how do you stay motivated? How do you stay, you know, driven to continue through periods of, you know, difficulties, right? Stagnation. Right now, the economy is not doing too well. So how do you manage to stay motivated and continue to push?
Number one, I think, is just providing for my family. When we started the business, my wife was working as a nurse. Okay. She's a registered nurse, but we've got 4 kids, and she wanted to do the stay-at-home mom thing. And so I wanted to be able to enable her to do that. And so I was like, well, we got to crush it in the business. That's the only way we can do that. So that was just huge motivation. Like, I got to provide. I got to put food on the table. I want to have a nice house to live in. That keeps me going every day. And part of what I want to do in this business is to be able to use it to give back. Awesome. As well. So
in which way? Could you elaborate?
Yeah, so like, you know, I'm part of a church in Coconut Creek, and giving back through that is very important to me. Giving back to local nonprofits, awesome, very important to me as well. And if I'm just like, you know, inconsistent, unmotivated, just content to just sit back and coast in my business and just, oh, you know, it was a good month, it wasn't a good month, whatever, I'm not going to have the resources to be able to give what I want to give back to those causes. And so for me, going out and seeking to crush it in my business is not like, I just want lots of money, I want, you know, to do whatever. Yes, I want to be able to give my family a very comfortable life, but beyond that, I want to be able to give back to the community, to my church, and different things like that. And so that's a huge motivation for me. And then also just like, I want to serve my clients well. I don't want to be the place that, you know, you come and just, hey, whatever, get in front of the camera, click, okay, on to the next person. I want to treat every customer like they're the most important person, and that motivates me to do well in just building the business, helping people to see the value of what I'm doing, whether it's on LinkedIn or through a phone call or meeting somebody in person, and just helping them to have a great experience through that is extremely motivating. And then one other thing that's been, I guess, an unexpected benefit of the business, to summarize it, if you look confident, it's going to help you to feel confident. And so one of the things that's happened is, as I've done this coaching, teaching people how to be confident in front of the camera, you know, helping them to have a really genuine expression, is that people have come in and, you know, probably most of us, we don't feel super photogenic. You know, I feel that too. And we don't love being in front of the camera. And a lot of times people will tell me, you know, I'm kind of nervous about today, or, you know, I'm not super photogenic. I hope you can help with that. And then when they see, you know, we go through the expression coaching, we get a number of shots, and then they see how confident I've got them looking on screen, people are actually leaving with a better opinion of themselves. Total and shift. Feeling like, you know, if I can look that confident on camera, then I can go and be confident in the workplace. That's like, I was not planning for that. Like, I was just like, I just want to give people the best headshot they've ever had. And I didn't realize how it was going to help people's mindset professionally. And even like people who've come in who've just lost their job and they're feeling super down and feeling like, I don't even know if I should be here, and just getting them looking confident in their headshots, and people like, you know, almost in tears, like, I feel like I can go and take on the world now, and just like, wow, yeah, that's amazing. That's, you know, that just motivates me to get out there and, like, you know, let's be consistent. Let's crush it. We can help as many people like that as possible.
Awesome, man. That's a great answer. That's a great answer. Helping not only the causes that you want to support, but also individuals to improve their mindset, their opinion of themselves. I could see how that could motivate anybody. So yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. One things, obviously, that we talk about in this podcast, it's mindset, motivation. It's a personal development podcast at the end of the day. So talk to me about a few resources, books, people that you follow that could be a good resource for the audience. And it could be from photography, it could be from mindset, it could be from any topic that you follow, and helps you improve your own life.
Oh boy, give me a minute to think
Yeah,
about
absolutely.
that.
I know you're a reader because I remember you mentioned you read that book from the person that you knew.
Yeah.
But it could be anything. It could be another podcast. It could be a radio station you listen to, a book that you've read.
It's kind of been like little bits and pieces.
A person in your life that was motivating.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things, just having a mentor, I think, has been key to success. So, the Peter Hurley, the mentor on the photography side of things, and just kind of his pushing me to, like, he saw potential and didn't just like let me coast. Like, he pushed me to get better, and it's like, I know you can do better than this, and pushed me to achieve excellence. And then kind of the mentor on the business side of things, he again just pushed me. And
was it the same person?
No,
on the business side.
On the business side, it was the headshot guy in DC that I originally connected with, who wrote his book on making bank with photography. And so he's really helped me to think through the business mindset, and you're in sales and maybe running your own business and trying to build a premium brand. Mm-hmm. And kind of, I grew up in probably like a lower middle class family where we weren't poor by any means, but we also didn't have a ton of extra. And so, we were always looking for savings and, the best deals on things. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, of course.
For sure. But, building a premium business where you're reaching out to a certain level of clientele, there can be a mindset block in your mind, like, I can't charge this much money for this.
That makes sense.
Because the thought was, well, we never paid for anything this expensive or this, that had this much value when we were growing up. We just couldn't afford it. So, why should I charge this much, or how can I charge this much? Should I be like throwing discounts out there all the time and things like that? And so just having that mindset of, no, you're offering something that it's not arbitrarily expensive. There's value there. And it's true, not everybody's going to be my client, but I needed to wrap my mind around how to build a premium business and how to charge for that, how to demonstrate value in the business and things like that. So there's been, for me, a lot of, different sources, different things that I've turned to grow in marketing and sales and just mindset for things like that. There's a guy on YouTube, Chris Doe. He's kind of more in the creative field, but he talks a lot about sales and marketing and kind of some of those mindset things. And so people like that, and just kind of, a variety of things like that have been really helpful to me in thinking through just business things, sales, marketing, mindset. That's been really helpful.
And the message, again, it's the power of connections, the mentorship, the help from people that you know and could definitely propel you to new heights. So I could relate a lot.
Yeah.
It's happened to me a lot in my life. I've always tried to approach people that, like you and me, that are very outgoing, that want to get it done, that are solution driven, and they just want to make it happen. So I could see how that would definitely help you and be a resource. Work is your net worth, like Grant Cardone says all the time.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about, you mentioned your childhood, right? Where you grew up and all that stuff. Tell me a little bit about your childhood.
So we kind of grew up all over the place. So my dad's a pastor.
Okay.
And he pastored a few different churches while I was growing up. I've got 3 other siblings as well. And so I was born in Canada, but he pastored a few churches in the States while we were growing up. So I lived in Ohio for a few years, and then Mississippi for 10 years, actually, before we moved back to Canada. And then I finished high school in Canada, went to college there. So just that gave me a diversity of like cultural experiences. So Mississippi is very different than Ohio, than Canada, than South Florida. So just really interesting diversity of experience there. Yeah, just like I mentioned before, very interested in science, wildlife growing up, and always had a passion for that. Again, went to college in Canada, degree in biology, degree in education, and it's interesting that I chose initially chose a career where I was standing up in front of a room of people and talking every day, because I am a little bit of an introvert. And when I'm one-on-one with people, I'm very, very comfortable. And that was one of the things, like starting my business, walking into a networking event where I didn't know anybody and going and meeting people. That is totally stepping outside of my comfort zone. But it's like, I got to do this. And I think, my background in teaching helped to prepare me for that, because it's not my comfort zone to stand up in front of a room of people and talk. But I do love the teaching, and I love loved the science and the biology, and love explaining that to people. And it's still occasionally when I have clients come, I love talking about the science of light and why I have the lights positioned the way I do and what it does. And I try not to bore people. But,
that's the teacher.
That's the teacher in me coming out. But yeah, just had an awesome childhood, wonderful parents, and
is it hard to be the son of a pastor?
No, I don't think so. I think my parents handled it really well, and
awesome.
it wasn't like there's more pressure on you than there is on any other kid in the church. And
I feel like that growing up, but my dad wasn't a pastor, so I think we always perceived like a lot of pressure coming from our parents, in the sense that they want us to do better than they did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah. So you've given me a lot of meat. So maybe any hidden cool facts about you, something you haven't shared?
So I got to go to, along the lines of the wildlife photography, I got to go to Africa in 2019.
Wow.
Part of it was to do some nonprofit stuff and to help support some ministries over there, but I also got to do some wildlife photography while I was there. And part of that was just looking for the famous wildlife, giraffes, elephants, things like that. We got to see gorillas in the wild, which was amazing. But I also wanted to see some reptiles while I was over there, and got to do some amazing photography of them, and entered one of the images into the Africa Geographic Photographer of the Year competition in 2020, so the year after I went, and I submitted one of my images. There were 38,000 entries, and I made the top 12.
Wow.
Of that, so it got honorable mention out of the whole
quite
competition.
Interesting.
So was super excited about that.
No, that's I hope me too, man. That's so cool. So very cool. So wanted to give you time to let the audience know. They already know by now what you do for business, but maybe you have a little bit of an elevator speech, something that you want to communicate to the audience directly. I want you to look at the camera and exactly let them know who you are and what your business is.
Again, super excited to be here on Alex's podcast. I'm Daniel Wakefield. I'm the owner of Top Tier Headshots. I'm a headshot photographer and expression coach, and we seek to take headshots to the next level by coaching people to have great facial expressions so that they look confident, approachable, and genuine, so that they make a great first impression. I do individual sessions in my studio. I do corporate group sessions as well for companies or teams that want to elevate their image. And really one of the things I'm trying to do is to give people a really high-end looking headshot so that they will hopefully attract more high-end clientele to what they're doing, what their business is. And then if I could really quick just talk about the event that I am putting on with some people. So me and a few other of my professional friends are putting on a networking event, which is going to be an art gallery style showing of my wildlife photography.
Wow.
And so that's coming up next month on July the 13th. It's a Thursday night from 6 to 8 p.m. here in Fort Lauderdale. There's going to be several different themes there. There's going to be an Africa section. There's going to be a birds of Florida section, landscapes. There's going to be a reptile section, of course. But we're doing it as a fundraiser to help support Children's Harbor, which is a local nonprofit that helps teens in the foster system to make sure that they stay together with their siblings, and that as they're aging out of that they're equipped with the tools to have a great career and to really make it in the world. So I'm just super excited about helping and partnering with that nonprofit. There's several ways that people will be able to contribute to them.
Perfect.
So just buying a ticket, a portion of the ticket price will go towards Children's Harbor. So just by coming, you're helping. which is amazing. We're going to auction off one of my pieces, and 100% of that is going to go towards Children's Harbor.
Wow.
And then also everything there will be for sale as well, and 50% of every print sale will go to Children's Harbor as well. So lots of opportunities to get great images to hang up in your home, but also to help support that awesome cause. And on top of that, we wanted to make sure that people felt like they're getting a lot of value out of coming to that event. Anybody that registers and buys a ticket for that event, we're going to be setting aside another day sometime soon after that event. Anybody who purchases a ticket will be able to show up on that day and get a complimentary headshot from me here in my studio.
That's a lot of values, guys. So make sure to follow Daniel. I'll put in all the information right down below. But I wanted to ask you a final question,
yes,
my friend.
Absolutely.
What is the best piece of advice that anyone has ever given you? Difficult question.
Wow, it's difficult because there's different categories of
Maybe
advice,
one.
Right?
In life, in family, in business, whatever you want to pick.
The top one, just overall, just, you know, my parents instilled it in me, and I've found it to be so true, is just trusting God in my life through everything, family, business, everything. He is always there, and he has never let me down, and has proven to be trustworthy. Business-wise, one of the things my dad said to me early on when I was just getting started with a business was, when you start a business, you can't just be good at what you do. You've got to also be good at running a business. And so what I found is that so many businesses fail because somebody might be really great. It might be amazing. They might be the best person around at what they do, but they haven't figured out or haven't taken the time to learn how to run a business and make it work, and how to grow it, and how to, you know, market it and sell the product and things like that. So that's kind of, if we have entrepreneurs listening, or, you know, maybe aspiring entrepreneurs, is that, yes, be really good at what you do and what you're going to offer, but also figure out, if you don't know how to be good at business, figure out how to be good at business, because that's going to be the make it or break it.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, when it comes down to it, marketing and sales is what's going to drive the business forward.
Yeah.
So definitely do that.
Either work on getting the people right next to you to help you supplement your deficiencies, or make sure that you're open to learn and grow, right?
Exactly.
So that leads me to the very final section of every podcast, which is, what would be a good piece of advice you could give to anybody to help them transform their life, their health, their wealth, or their relationships?
I would say don't give up.
My man.
I mean, you know, because just for example, if you are starting a business, there are going to be so many reasons to give up.
Yeah.
So many obstacles that you just think, I don't know how we're going to get past this. Or so many, you know, again, trying to build a premium business, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I just want like a $50 headshot. You know, and that's fine. And there are people that can do that for you. But
it would never be the same.
Number one, it's not going to be the same. And number two, for me, that means there's going to be a lot of people that say no. Yeah. You know, it's too much money. It's, you know, whatever. And so learning to get comfortable with, you know, facing those obstacles, and instead of just saying, well, I give up. How are we either going to get around it, get over it, you know, charge right through it, whatever the thing might be. That's so important. And then kind of following up on that as well. I know this means two pieces of advice, but get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because as you know, growth comes when we step outside of our comfort zone. So like, whether that's personally, whether that's professionally in your business, like when I started my business, I realized quickly I need to step outside my comfort zone and go make relationships, go build relationships with people that I currently don't know who they are, but I got to meet them in order to build those relationships. And that was a huge stepping outside of my comfort zone, but it's just been so successful.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought that point up, because it happens to me too. As humans, we like comfort.
Yeah.
We like to
Yep.
have the predictable stuff.
Yep.
And we want to have a degree of control on things. I definitely know that you have to step out of your boundaries in order to grow, because otherwise you just stagnate and you just stay the same. What was your opinion about the conversation today?
Dude, it was fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And thank you for having me here.
Thanks for having me.
Hopefully this is going to drive a lot of traffic to your page and lead to great results.
Thanks, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for a good message.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.